Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Amanda Ray, and when I was 17, almost 18 years old, I left a polygamous cult that I was born in. If you're interested in hearing my story, I'll leave that linked in the description box down below. But today we're going to be telling Julli's story, and this is going to be a mouthful. Julli is full siblings to Joe Robinson, which I'll leave his video in the description box down below. Half siblings with Gerald, Colleen, Chanel, and also half sisters to Allison. All of those people have been on my channel. Am I missing anyone? We'll find out later. Jessica and Andrea.
Oh, yeah.
Father is Daniel, and your mom is the third wife of Daniel.
Right.
Oldest daughter of the third wife. Oh my gosh, that was a mouthful. But she was just saying that her daughter has a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
So let's see the merch. I love that tree. I paint
She does
trees.
animations.
Yeah, we'll have her linked down below. How long has she been doing it for?
She's been doing it for, I would say, 6 years, but you can tell her animations get better and better and better.
So we're going to be hearing a little bit about Julli's story today, but also she is coming out with a book, right? You want to talk a little bit about that?
The cult wall.
The numbers mean something, right?
Yeah, my dad is number 15. My mom was number 3 wife. And because I was the oldest girl, then I got number 2.
Apparently, she was saying that the card number was your actual number in the order.
Yes.
So, like, if you guys know the numbering system, we do Culty Cup of Coffee every Sunday, and each number is a different man. So, my dad's number 36. So, they would say the first wife would be 361. My mom would be 362 because she's the second wife. So, your Daniel was 15. Your mom being the third wife would be 153. Which I asked this question all the time. I was like, that doesn't make sense because eventually, when the order gets big enough, there will be a 363rd person or a 362nd person, and my mom has 362. So then what?
They'll figure it out. Back then,
We just can't give out any more numbers.
Oh yeah, Eskel's in the background. You want to say hi real quick?
Oh yeah.
He might be chiming in here and there.
Hey guys.
So Julli was also married in the order. You were in there for a long time, right?
Yeah, I left around 27.
You were 27?
Yeah.
My age?
Yeah.
She was my age when she left. And at that time, you already had kids.
6 kids.
6 kids at my age. I would die. Oh my gosh. Okay. We're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, but we can start. Let's start with, I really like to ask a lot of people, well, women specifically, when you remember being coached for marriage.
It just seemed to be culturally acceptable. I remember thinking the earlier in age I got married, that would mean I'm a better person and I was more high up. So I was hoping to be a good enough person to marry around 12 or 14.
Wow.
That was my hopes and dreams.
So were you like having direction at those ages?
Yeah. I mean, they start you at 8 when you become an adult.
What, 8, ripe age of 8 years old, you're an adult. For any newcomers on this channel, so I use the lingo of direction and like coming forward on, and I need to remember to explain myself because a lot of people are like, what is this? But basically, so you're getting direction from God. It's like a dream or a premonition of what you're supposed to be doing to find your number one choice. That's what they call it in the order. And then the male is the one that comes forward, which sounds so weird, but they present themselves as a choice, but they can't even get to that point until the parents are okay and they get the okay with Paul. So did you have a lot of men coming forward on you from a young age?
I was very sheltered on who was coming forward. It didn't really make it to me.
Yeah, they controlled it and filtered who they wanted to talk to you.
And they had it looked like they had already pretty much set it up by the age of 12.
So you were having men talk to you at that age?
No.
Oh. They knew who it was.
They do this behind the scenes.
Oh.
And he started working for me.
Oh, so they were having you guys kind of like start that relationship by making you work together.
He worked for Daniel to purchase me. And
so like a certain amount of time working, and this is something that we don't hear a lot of now, like the younger generation, but I have heard a lot of the older generation saying things like, oh, they only worked a few summers at the Idaho farm for me, that's all I was worth. Like you're working to be awarded the daughter. So that's similar to you, but he was like working for Daniel to get the approval to have you?
To come forward.
Mm-hmm.
So he wasn't coming forward yet. He was already working for me. The things were lining up behind me without me noticing. The only friends I was allowed to have was his wife's.
How many wives did he have at the time?
I was the 7th.
Oh, wow.
So he had a few.
Yeah. So he's working, and then you're only allowed to really associate with the wife. So you're very, at a young age, very involved in that lifestyle already.
Mm-hmm.
And then, what age did he come forward on you?
He came forward about 15.
Oh, wow.
So,
That is young.
I mean, back then it was very old.
Yeah, you're an old maid at that time.
Yeah.
Did you get married at 15? You didn't, did you?
I had another choice that I had wanted. I didn't know that I thought it was girl's choice. And I didn't understand the process, or that it had already been purchased, and
Well, you're 15. So
things
you're
had already worked out behind my back.
Yeah. So you were pushing for this other choice, but Daniel's like, we're going to have you do this instead.
Well, he explained to me the hierarchy and how that person was not something that I could marry into, because it wasn't marrying up, and I had to marry up. And with with being Daniel's child, up wasn't very many options.
Yep. It's a lot like, I've had a lot of outsiders comment that it's almost like back in the olden days, royalty would marry within the royal families. And then it becomes an inbred situation, which, yes, the order was a lot like that. But marrying up is definitely something that, and if you're in the order, I say this in a lot of my videos, but if you're watching this and you're in the order, look around you. Are there any Kingston girls that married a non-Kingston guy? Now, how many married a Kingston man? Just like, I remember when I was a kid realizing that when I was in the order, and I was like, it's a system and it's rigged. You didn't figure it out because you're young. I didn't figure it out until I was older. So then by the time you're 16, you're engaged to this guy as a 7th wife.
Yeah, eventually I gave up the fight, and because like he came when I was 15 and he asked for me. At that time I knew I didn't want that, but I knew if I said no I'd get in trouble, and I knew if I said yes I would be married. So I said I don't know. So we sat there for an hour to let me know that I was not going to make it to heaven, and that I was killing babies.
What? How did he?
Because I needed that time to produce children.
Oh, and because
At
you're
15.
waiting, then you are stopping those souls from coming to this earth.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. Did you feel guilty?
Almost.
Almost. Wow.
But
that's terrible.
I gave up my fight a year later.
Yeah.
And then we were married. I got married at 16.
Before we get into the marriage and how that was, I did want to talk about, you said you were working. When did you start working?
We passed flyers around 8, and around 6 we were like licking envelopes for
For the office?
no, for advance copy.
Oh, so it's
we
kind of
were
like
packaging.
whatever you could do
Yeah.
at those ages.
And then
And she was paying rent. We were talking about this. I wish we were recording when we were talking about this. You were paying rent at a very young age.
at 12 is when I finally got a full-time job, because I remember Paul getting up in church and saying, "We don't have enough jobs for 9-year-olds. We need to fix this." And I was like, "Yes, I'm a 9-year-old. I need a job. I need
You're
to."
like rallying for the 9-year-old.
We need full-time jobs at this point. We are poor over here.
Because you're paying rent. Oh, that's so sad. How much was your rent?
At this point, I don't even remember.
We are poor over here. You're not giving us enough hours. Wow.
So yeah, I like passed flyers and did stuff, but I didn't have a full-time job till I was 12, and then I started paying rent full-time at that point.
And so to explain this, I don't know how many times I've explained this on my channel. I don't think I have. Probably not enough. The system of the banking system in the order is very interesting. You have a green card, which means you're poor, which is what I was always on. And then you had a yellow card, which is like middle class. And then you had a blue card, which meant, and Eskel literally said this, so she was talking about how she had a blue card Oh, is my camera gonna die? Eskel just changed out the cameras because mine died.
Let me know which one's better, the first part or this one. Okay?
Because the first part of this was my camera. The second
and this
part,
one's my camera.
So the right answer is his, apparently.
Make sure you get the right answer.
One is more expensive than the other, so that's why I really do want to know which one is better quality.
Me too. No, I'm really curious too.
So comment down below, camera
We
1
should
or
have said
camera
whose
2.
was whose, though. 'Cause now they're
I
gonna
didn't
watch.
say which one. Oh, I did. No, but I didn't say how much each one was. So I'll tell you guys which one was more expensive.
Nice.
But okay, so where we cut off on where my camera died, I was explaining the green card, yellow card, and blue card. And she was like, oh yeah, I was on a blue card. And Eskel was like, you were rich?
You know how much money you had to have, right?
I don't remember. What was the
It
cutoff?
was $100 for a yellow card and $1,000 for a blue card.
That's it.
No, because
What?
This is back in my day it was.
Oh,
that
I had two. No, you weren't. Because I had 2,000 and I was always on a green card.
So so eventually the parents got to choose if you were on a green card or
Well,
blue.
and it had something to do with what you actually went ahead, not necessarily what was in your savings, right? Yeah, I think you had to go ahead that much, didn't you?
No, it just had to be on the big books. But eventually they let the parents control it because my generation, we bought a lot of candy at 12 years old with a full-time job. And they realized that was kind of dumb.
That's why you were in
You
church.
guys
Like,
ruined it for us.
wait, so let's go back to this. You wanted a full-time job so you could then, therefore, buy more candy?
I mean, you're 12.
She's like, this is not enough Tootsie Pops.
12 with a full-time job, what are you going to buy?
Yeah.
Like
We didn't have access to our money. I didn't touch my money until I was like 16.
Because they got smart and stopped letting those 12-year-olds with $1,000.
So do you remember, I did not know this till I left. My money was always staying at $2,000 even though I wasn't touching it. Apparently it was going to the back account. I find out later it was CO36, my dad's account.
When I was a child, it just went on the big book. But there were times when they realized, oh look, that money just disappeared instead of went on the big books. So they wanted to manage it better, so they
What do you
made...
mean big books, though? I've never heard of this term before.
I know.
When my time, they called it big books.
Because they probably had it all in actual books, I'm sure.
Yeah, because they were keeping track of it on this like bigger account. At the end of the year, they would just make sure nobody had money on their books. It was kind of a fraud kind of a thing, so you don't have to pay for the interest on the money that
You're making? Oh.
So you don't have to show
But then it also makes it easier for them to steal it.
and hide
Exactly.
wanted to.
It's
Or
secretive.
what was happening is sometimes they would forget to transfer all the way. The money would disappear. So my mom was like, you need to make sure each December matches up with each January on the big books. And so we'd have to call and be like, what's our balance on that? Because my mom knew money and she knew how the system worked. So she would be like, make sure it didn't just disappear. But eventually they started creating the father's accounts to dump it into so that the father can make sure it didn't just disappear out of nowhere.
It needs to disappear into his pocket.
Well, it disappear into the summers.
I learn something new every time I interview someone from the order. And I'm like, wow, I didn't even realize how much I really was being taken advantage of.
Yeah.
And I didn't know, and I'm going to say this again for any order members watching that doesn't know this, just in case you don't know this. It is illegal for your parents to be charging you rent as a minor. So look it up. You shouldn't be doing that as a minor.
Because just think about it. What are they going to do if you don't pay? Really?
Kick you out? Okay.
They're just sending you to like...
They're forcing you to be in the order. They're not going to kick you out.
I mean, I was homeless at 17.
You were? Okay, let's go. Let's get back into it. So you get married to Paul's first wife's kid. So a kid from the first wife's family.
First son.
His first son.
The leader's firstborn child.
So
First of all?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah,
wow.
that's what he is.
wow. So the firstborn of the third wife of Daniel's marries the firstborn of Paul's.
Which wasn't hard. I was number 7. There's numbers.
You were the 7th oldest of Daniel's?
No, I was the 7th wife.
Oh, I was like, what? So number 7. Whoa, he already had 6 wives by the time you were 16.
How old was he?
So he was 19.
What?
Paul's, I tell you guys this, Paul's wife, the first wife, those sons get the wives the quickest. We all know this.
It happened 1 month after another.
Every
single
month?
Oh.
I always wonder, like, it's just Paul's sons just get to have whatever, or is it that he has, like, okay, just like that, how he was working for your dad. I just kind of wonder, I wish I could be a fly on the wall to the meetings of how they figure that out, you know?
It's kind of like a trophy, and the number is how special you are.
Yeah. Was there, okay, so hang on, sorry. We're getting ahead of ourselves. You get engaged. How long after your engagement were you married to him as his
1
seventh
week.
wife? 1 week.
I got engaged on June 13th, and I was married June 21st.
And you were 16?
And I was 16.
And then where did you go as a married bride after that?
The first night we stayed at Washiki.
Oh. Wait, so you get married and you drove all the way to Washiki?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Yeah,
It was
that
my
your-
dream come true.
It was your honeymoon?
I was a whole 16.
Your honeymoon in Washiki.
I got to stay in the really cool cabin at the Washiki Ranch.
Was it cool?
It was for me.
Oh.
I wasn't. Before that moment, that was reserved for the very special people. It would be really cool to stay there. And so, because I did what I was supposed to do, I got to go stay there.
So then you have the honeymoon, and then you're gonna have to, well, some people move into the basement of their parents' house. Did you move out of your mom's house?
So my honeymoon ended up being in California.
Oh, so the wedding night was Washiki, and then right after that you go to California with him?
Well, I went to Vegas, and then we went to California, because, you know, what can a 19-year-old and a 16-year-old do on their own?
Yeah.
Not much.
I always wonder if the wives get jealous when the new wife goes on a trip with their husband. See any of that?
I lived a very happy polygamous life.
Really?
Kind of like a fantasy, where we supported each other, we loved each other, and we were all there for each other. I didn't really catch on to what was happening until way later.
Really? Well, also because just like that, you were very young. Your dream was to get married as young as possible, right? And I'm sure your dream was to have as many kids as possible, bring those souls down to this earth. You don't realize, in a normal scenario, in a normal world, a child at 12 wouldn't be thinking about those things.
Right.
So this is your heaven that they've made you think is your heaven.
Yeah.
And you're fitting that part.
I was doing everything I was supposed to do, and I was going to go to heaven.
Yeah. And so no jealousy.
I mean, I thought there wasn't. I didn't really see until a lot of years later the little tricks and games, and I didn't even realize, like, all my friends, the reason why I ended up just giving up on my fight is the only friends I had were his wives.
Yeah.
And so they were my best friends. They were everything to me because I was a little kid with no option of any other friends. And later on, I realized in family meetings he would direct the wives to court these young girls.
Wow. So he would put them onto the new victim, basically. That's sad.
And whoever could come up with more intel, whoever could come up with more, like, oh, I got her to talk about you today, or got her to, whoever, like, instigated more.
Then they would get favors and trophy wife or whatever.
Well, they would get favors. They would get to talk to him because talking to your husband's really special.
And you don't always get to talk to your husband, so
Next to never.
get lucky. Wow.
So I didn't realize until many, 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 many years later why I had those friendships and why they disappeared when I got married, and why
Like kind of the manipulation that was...
we weren't allowed to be friends, really, when we were in the family. He did not like that.
I heard, I mean, maybe this is just a rumor, but that he was one of the ones that loved pitting the wives against each other. He was?
Absolutely.
Why? He got a rise out of that?
Yeah.
What was the way that he would do that? Just gossip?
He would constantly be like, so at some point, my younger sister ended up marrying him.
Full sister?
Yeah. he would talk about her like, oh, she's taking this, she's taking that, she's taking this. She was my nicest sister wife.
Yeah.
She was so, like, she never did anything just to hurt somebody. Mm-hmm. She was really, really nice. Like, yeah, she got jealousy. Yeah, she, like, wanted his time. She worked for that.
As you all did.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
We all felt those ways. But other wives would punch you. Other wives would be really mean. But he would come home and be like, oh, this person took your time. And then I ended up calling her, and I was like, I know that there's something really serious happening in your family, but he just blamed you for everything. And I want to know if this is true. Mm-hmm. Like, he said 4 hours that she wasted your time, you were supposed to do stuff, and he couldn't come home because this girl. And when he said that, I was like, I know that's not true. Mm-hmm. And so I called. They said, oh, he was on the phone to make sure my child didn't die today. And that's why I knew, like, this is serious. If she needs 4 hours, go save her babies.
But they were
but really, yeah, he was blaming her. He was making up this whole story, saying how horrible she was. But really, it was a whole 10 minutes. And then I was like, well, what did you do the rest of the 4 hours? Oh, I talked to this wife because she had my mail, and I talked to this wife because this one got an award at school today. And I'm like, why did you make that up? Why did you lie to me and say that wife took all the time when really you were taking care of things, and you had every option to text me, you had every option to not cause this
trauma.
fight, not cause this hurt feeling towards that person.
What'd he say to that? He just don't care.
Yeah, he's just like, whatever.
Did you say
you caught me?
that the wives punched each other?
Yeah.
Like, you mean physically? Why?
At the end of my time there, anyone who would sit by him got hit.
By the more dominant
other
ones?
wives, other children. The wives would tell their children to hit you.
Oh my God.
There was a wife who sat on my pregnant sister's lap because she was sitting next to him, and she sat on her lap. And I'm like, hello?
Okay, a message to all of, you know who you are. If you're one of the wives of this man, of Paul's firstborn son, have you seen him? what does he have that you can't get somewhere else? Honestly. Mm-hmm. Like, a lot of Paul's sons, too, I'm like, first of all, I get it. If there's a guy that's not very attractive, but he's a sweetheart, and that makes them more attractive. He's not. He's not one of them.
He pretended pretty well. And I lived my fantasy.
I was never married to him, and I even was like, ugh, I don't know where your hand's been. I'm not shaking your hand. Like something's off about you.
Yeah, he's good.
Okay, rant over.
But yeah, well, I had one lady hit me in the middle of family meeting, and I screamed like for an hour. I was like, oh, no one hits me. Why would you hit me? She's like, oh my gosh, Julli, get over it. It wasn't that hard. And I'm like, you don't hit me. Are you freaking serious? You don't
turns it
hit
around
me.
on you. Oh
yeah.
My God.
And then after that, I wasn't welcome to family meetings anymore.
I wonder why.
I don't know.
Wow. Okay, so you get married. How long after did you have your first baby?
I was 18. Took me a long time to get pregnant.
So, I mean, that's not that long. But in the order, it's like, what's wrong with you? Let's start figuring out, like, if we need to go to the doctors. It's funny, they don't want doctors, but as soon as you can't have a baby, they're like, let's figure this out.
Let's figure this out. Yeah, I had to sit down with Daniel, and he explained how cows work and how you have to catch them in their cycle and how that all works. And
to fertilize you, basically, because you're cattle.
And how you should have girls. Make sure that
he explained how to have more girls to you? Wow.
Yeah, I was very excited to make that happen, and it did.
It worked?
It worked.
Did you have a lot of girls first?
I did. I had 2 girls and then a boy, and then I had another girl.
Wow.
And timing didn't always work because, he's busy.
Yeah.
But as a wife of, many, you had to know your cycles. You had to know what day you could start out. Or
you let him know?
Yeah. You had to call him and be like, okay, I know my cycle.
Wow.
Like when you start your month, you're like, okay, now I know how this works. I know when you can come. And we would schedule it those days because I see him twice a month. It had to be those days.
Wow. So most of your married life to him was pregnant or trying to get pregnant. What was the normal average like space between each kid?
I had my first 4 pretty much a year apart. The
Wow.
first 2 are a year and 5 days. And then I slowed down a little bit, a few months.
And meanwhile, you're going to his weddings to his wives.
Hmm.
Did you guys have to do the whole like? Because I know my mom was saying you're supposed to give permission. Like, you're supposed to get permission from all of the wives when you want a new wife to come in. And there even was, at some point, a ceremony where you're all the hands on the... But I think that changed over time, because I know my mom did not want the third wife. My dad did it anyway. Nothing like that?
I know with Ortel, like his 5th wife, nobody even knew how many wives he had until they all showed up at his 5th wife's wedding.
What?
Yeah. And then
I've never heard that.
mine, what they did is the wife before had to like, so like your dad would give your hand to the wife before, and the wife before would give your hand to the husband. So only the wife before had to be there.
So did you do that to the wife after you?
Yes.
And you're supposed to go to every wedding that he has?
No,
You don't have to?
I didn't.
Wow.
It wasn't a choice, but yeah, no.
They didn't want you to be there?
I was working with my child at that point on the 9th wife. I had a sick child in the hospital.
Oh.
So I was rushing to the hospital while he was getting married.
Oh my gosh. That is sad. You would think that if it's his child, but I guess he has so many children at this point. I hated feeling like just a number in the order, but you are. You literally just like you had a number. We all were a number. Mm-hmm. Daniel's even using cattle as an analogy to make the point.
Mm-hmm. Good way to bring more souls in to the brick wall.
A lot of traumatized souls. A lot of people said this. I'm sure you heard this. If it weren't for polygamy, you wouldn't be here. Mm-hmm. I'd be like, well, I'm asked to be here, okay?
I truly believed it. I truly wanted to be there. I did everything I could to be a good wife. But then I was going through miscarry, and through the process of that miscarry, I ended up dying, like came back. It wasn't extremely far along, but my body doesn't do really great. Like, I can go through a full pregnancy, everything's fine until I miscarry. It was only 8 weeks, but I carried it to like 14.
So it had died.
It was a miscarry, and so its body became infected inside of me.
Oh my gosh.
And so I started turning septic because dead flesh inside you.
How old were you?
Good. I mean, I was around 26.
Wow. That is so scary. Did you know what was going on?
Yeah, it had not been my first time.
Oh, wow. Did they take you to the hospital the first time?
No.
Wow. What did they do this time? Who was there? Where did you call the police? Were you instructed to do anything?
We kept waiting, and then my stomach started swelling, and at that point, Diane was like, yeah, get her to the hospital. She's not going to make it. And so I was like, okay, in the morning, we'll just go to the hospital. And he had to go to work. So I waited.
Because you weren't supposed to go without him?
Well, I wasn't supposed to go without the approval.
Yeah.
And I was physically too ill to drive. Like, I couldn't get myself to a hospital all by myself.
Yeah.
And so he disappeared on me, and I didn't know what to do, and I was passed out half the day. Yeah, as soon as he came home in the afternoon, I picked up the phone and I said, okay, we're going to go to the hospital now. We've got to call the doctor and set this up. And he jumped on me and took the phone away and started dragging me to his car and called me a brat and was like, you can't do this. Why are you acting like this? I'm going to take you back to your mom's because you're being horrible. And I was like, what the heck? My dad just said so.
Yeah. Why is he acting like that?
What's going on? Then he realized that all my kids were sitting there staring at him, dragging me across the front yard.
Yeah.
And then he stopped, and then he called my mom and said, come pick her up. She was being a brat. So then my mom showed up, and she was like, oh, you're just imagining that. You're really sick right now. That didn't happen. And I was like,
the kids saw it.
what?
Okay.
So yeah, then finally the next day we really did go to the doctors, and they had to like give me some medicine to get it out.
So you didn't even go to the doctor that day?
No.
Wow.
We were gonna take it serious, and I was just delusional at that point.
Wow. When did you die and come back? Was it that time?
As soon as I went to the doctors, they gave me some stuff, and it's within 6 hours it started passing, and when it passed, then I started convulsing, and I wasn't there.
Where was he?
Oh, he finally showed up. He was screaming at me. He was so like, the doctor gave me the stuff and I took it and he's like, "Are you serious? I have to go to work." And I'm like, "You have to bring me back when I die. Like, that's what you have to do. Stay here." And he was screaming at me.
Wait, you were home?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were still in the doctor's, so you went home.
The doctor sent me home with medicine and I was like, "Are you crazy?"
And so you had to pass it when you were home, and then you died.
Yeah, and then he just shook me back. And
did you like heart stop beating, stop breathing?
I feel like that's what happened. He said I was having
seizures.
convulsions, and it was pretty bad. And he like kept like, come back.
Did he have to do CPR or anything like that?
He said he did a lot. So I wasn't there.
Yeah,
I was gone. And so my body was there, finally came back to life, and then every time I tried to like stand up, I would pass out again. So that was pretty scary for a whole 24 hours. And then I made it. At that point I was like, whatever the Lord wants, whatever's supposed to happen, I'm here for a reason. But then later on that same month, another mother passed away. Her husband got up at her funeral and said that she called and said she felt like she was dying, she needed to go to the hospital. Pretty much the same story. And he said, "Well, go take a nap."
Mm-hmm. You guys know whose family this is in, because I've talked about this. It's one of my aunts.
Mm-hmm. And so she took a nap and she died, and her kids were there. And when I realized what they would do to my children when I passed, I realized I didn't want that for my kids. Mm-hmm. And I realized I wasn't going to stay alive there, so I had to make life choices, not what I wanted choices.
Was it a overnight thing, or was it you prepared for months to leave, or?
I just woke up every morning and just prayed that whatever was there for me to keep me alive would come to me that day. And I just followed that path, and eventually that was October 3rd, and October 31st is when that other mom passed. So between October 31st and that January, by January I was gone.
Wow.
Like, I had a meeting December 3rd with Paul, and Paul was very mean.
I'm sure he's going to take his son's side and not yours.
Well, he pretty much just said, "You're not worth talking to, you're just garbage, and don't speak to me."
Wait, so he scheduled a meeting just to tell you that?
Mm-hmm. To just yell at me for an hour about how much I am garbage.
Was your husband at the time there? Or?
Yeah, he agreed. Sounded great.
Was Daniel there?
Daniel was there, and he was actually crying. He was actually sitting in his chair, like, really, really sad.
Like, upset at you, or?
No, he just looked really sad that he was talking like that.
Really?
And I was like, holy cow, what's happening? And that was like December. And then by January, I'm like, I'm done. I can't do this. And then I was just not there. And he didn't let the family know for a year later.
Where did you go?
I just stayed. I stayed at my house.
But you just didn't participate? You didn't?
I mean, I wasn't welcome at the family meetings. In January, I was still going to church, and I was like, holy cow, what am I listening to? Have I been listening to this my whole life? Like, what is this?
It's almost like when you start to wake up and you're like, oh, I've been sleeping this whole time.
And so, yeah, I went to church, and nothing felt right. And so then I just started, okay, we're done. And they come to my house, and I had Daniel and my mom come over and yell at me, and I was like, well, thank you for your 2 cents. I appreciate it, but this is my life, so go live yours.
And your husband just didn't care to come ever see you again?
It was a long process of trying out, like, separation, him taking the kids for a weekend, and then that went really bad.
Oh, I'm sure. 'Cause what's he going to do with the kids?
Yep. I didn't realize all that. And then they started setting me up. They started doing weird things to me.
To get you in court?
Yeah. To take the kids, to tell them I was losing my mind. They told everybody I was doing drugs, told everyone I was drunk all the time.
This is a very common tactic that order members use to try to get rights to the kids, especially if they're female kids. They've been known to put trackers on cars and voice recorders on cars to try to just get you in anything that they can use against you, and then obviously manipulate the kids to go against you too.
Yeah, they had and someone else come to my house and give me a contract stating that they're going to help me even though, they're going to help me through a process of leaving. Really tiny, teeny tiny letters was, I'm giving the rights away to my children. And they wanted me to sign that. And I was like, why would I need to sign anything with you guys? This is weird. And they're like, yeah, but we're stating what we're going to do to help you. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And I'm like, that's all really nice, but what is this? Oh, don't worry about that. I'm giving the rights away to my kids?
That's ridiculous.
Are you serious right now? Like, no, you can't do that.
I'm glad you were smart. That is so traumatic. Okay, my question is, you were living in an order home. Did they eventually kick you out, or did they?
So I had purchased that home through order credit, through order money. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, you guys just need to honor the loan. They started giving me eviction notices. They started doing all these things. And
it says, it's monopoly money over there. It's not real. It doesn't transfer when you leave.
I learned a lot in my life, and I went to college. So when they tried to bully me, I just looked at them like, oh, that's against the law. Want to see that on the news? I'll show that on the news.
And they were afraid, or no?
Yeah. They finally, I just was like, I'm going to finish paying off this loan, and I'm going to keep the house. And they're like, no, you're not. I think Paul wanted me to get my own loan on the house, and Daniel wanted me to sell the house to them and leave. But I had no credit. My credit was all wrapped up in the church. Mm-hmm. All my money was wrapped up in the church. And I was like, I cannot legally go get a home loan with no credit. My credit is with you, and you guys need to honor this. And if you don't, I will publicize this. This will get out there.
So you still have that home?
I sold it and bought a bigger house.
Nice.
So
good for you. A lot of them, it's rare and it's sad, but it's rare that people are willing to fight. There's so many people that are like, you know what?
It's scary.
Yeah, I just want to live in peace.
They say scary things. They sent me lawyer letters. They're really, but because I knew the laws, I knew my rights.
Which is rare. A lot of them think that, just like that, they think that it is, like I was saying, it's legal for my parents to be charging me rent. It's not. There's a lot of things they do that you think is legal, but you don't know the law, so how you just know what they tell you.
And I was in college finishing up my associates, and I was taking business law, and I was like, dude, this is not legal.
Wow.
You want to be on the news for this? I will put you on the news. I will put it out there.
Knowledge saved you.
And I was like, and I was married under 18. There's so many things I could get you in trouble for. Why me right now? And then that's when they started telling the whole order, oh, she's crazy, she's drunk, she's on drugs. And I was like, really? Just telling you good luck?
Just wanting your own home too, and now all of a sudden.
Well, I had 6 kids. What was I going to do? If I gave them the house and took the equity in it, I couldn't have bought anything with that. And it was my everything. Yeah. So I wasn't going to do that to my kids. The whole thing, I did everything I did it for my kids. And I was like, I cannot leave this house because this is my kids' home. This is where I can provide a roof over their head. If I left and gave them the house, I couldn't do that because I didn't have credit to buy anything. Right. And if I tried to get my own loan, I couldn't legally do that because I didn't have any credit. There was nothing I could do besides stand up for myself and say, I guess you're going to have to try me because this isn't going to work.
That's awesome. Let that be a lesson for anyone trying to leave and needing their property.
Yeah, you can just take it. It's yours. Well, I had some documentation that they had been filing with.
If they can take it, they will. But, at the end of the day, you're going to have to put up a fight for what's yours.
Yeah. It took me years. It took me a lot of years. And even at the end, I had to go sit at the office for 4 hours. Just for them to give me the paperwork. And I'm like, why would you do that? Why would I have to sit here for 4 hours? Why couldn't you just... But...
They were hoping you'd leave.
Not good. Yeah, I was like, I have all day. I'll record all you guys are doing. I don't care. Yeah. Wow. This is your guys' life. I'm just going to go live mine. Let me do it.
It's crazy how quick the, roles switch. I'm sure, I don't know, overnight. Everyone is against you. The sister wives probably never talk to you again.
The ones who wanted to leave tried, but... Well, it's a lot. It takes a lot to leave. You lose. I believed in sister wives. I believed in everybody until I realized where their heart was in it all. But I really thought it was a good system. Yeah. For a minute.
Well, when you're raised in it too, and you don't know anything else, you're like, this is great because I've never seen nothing else.
Well, people will be like, how do you not have jealous issues? And I'm like, I don't want him.
Yeah.
I didn't pick him. That's not what
probably
I wanted.
why. So that I've said this before, like, okay, the ones that are jealous actually do care and actually do love him. The ones that aren't, like, you can skip my house. I'm not even attracted to you. I just married you because I was supposed to. Yeah.
So, I mean, I was like, why would I care? Like, if my sister wife could go have that time, that's okay. She can have that time. That's good for her. I mean, she looks like she needs it. I'm just over here being me.
Yeah. A lot of wives end up like that. It's almost like easier to be that wife than the wife that's trying to fight for that attention. So much energy. I'm just done. So then by the time you were 27, you left with your 6 kids, started your journey on the outside. And how long has it been now since you left?
Left in, that October was 2009. So it's been a lot of years. Like 13 years this year.
Wow.
I know. I'm like,
I wasn't that far behind you. I do remember that Halloween when my aunt died. And the kids even went to the Halloween. I was like, oh my goodness, aren't you guys? You guys should have stayed home.
And the heartbreaking part was when I was doing carpool. And she had a little 5-year-old the same age as my 5-year-old. And that 5-year-old was just sitting in a corner crying. And no one was comforting her. And I just looked at that and I was like, I will not have that be my children.
Yeah.
I will not die here. But I knew I still wanted to be there, but I was like, I cannot die here. It is too dangerous.
Yep. There's nothing set in stone for your kids. It's just like that too. Like, what would they have, a father who's splitting his time with however many wives at the time, however many different families? So it's a scary fate for the kids to have.
Well, it was
nothing.
really sad because they took the kids home, and I watched those kids pay for that house. Those kids were paying rent. They were building that house, and that mom would come to the grocery store. I worked at the grocery store at one point. She would come to the grocery store every month, and she'd buy soap, and at the very end of the pile, she would have a thing of meat and a thing of butter. And every time we'd ring her up, and she could never afford the meat or the butter. And I was like, just let it go through. Because, like, it's meat and butter. It wasn't anything big. And she's like, oh, I don't have it. And every time her kid would go put it back. And I'm like, that kid starved for that house. That kid worked. Like, their whole process was so she could pay for that house. And as soon as she died, they lost everything. Absolutely everything. And that's not okay.
Yeah. I had heard that they were trying to decide which of the kids were going to pay for her debt. And I don't know how true and what actually happened, but I mean, from the looks of it too, she wasn't one of the favorite wives, so it's like, the whole thing is just really sad, and to die in the order as a wife that's not the favorite, then you're going to get the not favorite treatment for your kids too. So I think that's also why a lot of women do have the energy to spend on trying to be the favorite. That's what it is in the order. It's all a mental game. And once you finally leave, you're done playing the mental Olympics. You can finally focus on reality and what's real and have control over your life, rather than having in your brain, when you're in the order, there is no such thing as control over your life. It's all the law of one above another. So once you finally stepped past that threshold, you had that control.
I even still find myself really confused not having that direction.
Yeah, it sucks to say, but
making your choices is a lot of work.
So a lot of people would rather it be in someone else's hands, which I get that too. Like, I've had people leave and be like, what do you miss about the order the most? And they said, someone making decisions for me. And at first I was like, ew, that's why I left. That's why we all left, so we can make our own decisions. But they were like, not having that stress of my salvation. It was put on someone else.
Yeah.
And they're carrying me through it. I was like, I guess that makes sense.
And whatever they said, you knew it was the right thing, and you knew, like, it was the right career path, it was the right everything, because they said so.
So at least...
And you didn't have to worry about, what do I want to do when I grow up? They gave it to you. It was right there.
Yep. And they use that a lot against you. Like they'll say, oh, if you leave, you're like, we hand you jobs, we give you homes, we give you food, blah, 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 blah. But then it's like, but do you? When I die, my home's not mine. It's back to the order.
And at that point in my life, my husband had quit a job for me and didn't even let me know. I was happy at that job and I was doing good and it was how I was making my bills. And then all of a sudden he quit it without letting me know. Like I had nothing to pay my bills with.
Mm-hmm.
And in the process of being married, I was homeless. I had been homeless. I had lost my jobs many times. I had not had a car. So everything they'd say, oh, you get this, you get that, you get this. I didn't have that. And they just told me it was because I was a bad person.
Mm-hmm. They have complete control over it.
Yeah.
Just like when my mom started like losing her kids to the outside world, we started leaving. Then she lost her house. She got demoted on her job. So everything, just like we were saying, is controlled by someone else.
Yeah. So
And
it also hurt you.
the hardest thing that for me to process is that people are paying for these homes. It's not like they're getting a free home to stay. They're paying, and their kids are paying rent. And when they die, it goes back to the order.
Yeah.
And that, in the order mindset, that makes sense, which is mind-blowing because we all know in the real world that's not how it works.
Well, you know the kids paid for it, so it's not just that person's house. Like, you know that mom's kids were paying the rent. They were helping her out.
So
and
why
even
would
with my
they-
mom, my brothers were paying that. My brothers paid that house just as much as she did.
But when your mom passed away, they took it away from them?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
They were paying rent to another mom. And all your credits with them, so you can't just go buy a house.
Mm-hmm. It is scary because it's like there are some things that when you leave, it is scary because your whole life was there. So now you got to start building credit. Now you got to, and like, where do you go? Like, you don't know anyone out here and you're cut off from everyone you did know.
And everyone who is out there who was in there, you've been told stories of scary stuff. And you're like, oh, I don't want to go and do drugs with them. I don't want to go get drunk with them. And meanwhile, that's not what everyone's doing.
Things were said about me overnight. They still are, actually, especially because I do the YouTube channel. There's a lot of people saying a lot of stuff about the Malibu retreat and about it just goes in one year out the other at this point. But now let's talk about where you are now, though. So all that's in the past. You have more kids now. More than 6 kids.
I love the kid part.
How many do you have?
I have 11 children.
11. Whoa! Yeah, that's more than mom. My mom has 5 boys, 5 girls. So you have 11. How many boys, how many girls?
I have 5 boys, 6 girls.
I don't know why I never thought you had that many. You just don't look like you're old enough to have 11 kids. But I guess you
Started really young.
yeah, she did start
we
young.
did start young. We sped up the process a lot. It was a journey of creating this family.
Wow. And you're like a jack of all trades too. Like I was telling Eskel, she's a realtor, you do taxes. You just have another notch on your belt now. What is it called?
It's tools to balance energy. So I do energy work. I work with Reiki, the emotion code. I have a Healy, that's a quantum physics machine that balances out your energy.
And so you're kind of like a therapist, but for the chakras, kind of, right?
For the energy.
Energy. Okay. And if anyone, I know a lot of my viewers are interested in this stuff and probably more well versed in it than I am. So if any of you guys are interested in some of the stuff that she offers, we'll leave the link to you have a website.
For that one, I have something on heal.me and on Facebook.
Okay, so we can leave the links to those down below if you guys are curious or interested. She does do long distance, so you don't have to be like living in Utah to get the services. Do you want me to not say that you live in Utah, or do you care?
I don't care.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say,
They all know where I live. They know exactly where I live.
The ones that you wouldn't want to know already know anyways.
Exactly. They know exactly where I live. They know everything about me, and they are stalking me. I went into the doctor's and requested a test, and I got a call back saying that their doctor requested it, and he's going to be getting the results. And I said, excuse me, what about HEPA? Like, what is going on?
So the order doctor requested your results?
The order doctor did it.
What?
And I was like, how the heck did that happen? I was just at this office with this doctor. And he goes, no, it shows you were at that office, but it shows this doctor was there. And I'm like, but he doesn't work there. How was he there being my doctor when he's not my doctor? He doesn't even work at that building.
What'd they say?
I don't know.
Oh my gosh, that's scary.
I was like, take him off. Take him off my records. Do not put him on there. I don't want him to get the results. And he's like, well, I can take him off, but because he's in that system and he works in that insurance system, he can get the results. We will see that he got the results, but he can still get it.
Wow.
But we won't directly send it to him. we'll take him off that he was the one who you visited today. I'm like, can't you put the I visited the doctor I visited? Like, it already says that you didn't.
What the heck?
Within 2 hours of visiting the doctor.
How would they know that? They must have some type of... that doesn't make any sense. They must have some type of, like... I don't know. I can't even begin to try to understand it.
Right? That's what I was like, what about leaving me alone? Letting me live my life? Why are you watching my medical records?
Yeah. They just can't get over you, I guess. Wow. Okay, anyways, other than that, so we'll put your website down below, and you're also working on your book. Once it's out, I'm going to go back to this video and put it in the description box down below, because I'm sure people will be watching it at the time that it comes out too. We'll make sure that the book is in the link down below, and then we hopefully will do another video kind of discussing more about what the book's about and where you guys can purchase it. Do we know when it's going to be out?
I'm still working on publishing.
You'll be
close.
The second person. Well, we have one of Paul's daughters has a book, and then we do have like that Murder at the Mind story, Murder at the Mind, but technically that's not like a diary, autobiography or whatever. So you'll probably be the second person to do something like that in the entire order, right?
Come to think of it, maybe.
And obviously the first of Daniel's, which honestly I thought there was going to be plenty of books from Daniel's.
Right?
Kids.
That's why I was like,
let's talk about it.
Everybody get on board.
I know. I almost feel like all of Daniel's girls should just write a book together.
Right.
But I'm definitely going to be purchasing. I'm definitely going to be reading and supporting that. That's awesome. What gave you the idea? How long did it take you to figure out that title? That's a cool title.
It was just recently.
Really?
Yeah, I took 5 years to get halfway through the book, and then recently, with all the energy healing and working through stuff, I've been able to just really absorb and understand what did happen, and how life has been. So like it's been coming to me really fast now.
That's what's interesting too, is like if you ask me my story while I was in the order, different story. If you ask when I'm healed and can understand what was going on, completely different. Which I'm so glad that I never like wrote anything yet. Maybe I will one day.
It's still based on trauma.
Yeah, I'm still healing from so much, and there's so much more that I mean it's a lot of work though. And I think that's why a lot of people are scared to heal, is because there's so much work and energy put into it, but the benefit is worth way more than not doing it. That's exciting. Is there diary entries from when did you have a diary in the order?
They always took them from me, but
they would read mine, so I ripped mine up and flushed it down the toilet once because they read through it.
Yeah, they don't let you keep those. They end up at your dad's office. The end of it is more like was written when it happened, because it's kind of the end, how it ended. But it's just when it just comes back, and I had a trauma day. Sometimes those days just hit you right back to those days. Yep.
It's weird. Some days I feel like oh yeah, the order. What's that? And then other days I feel like I'm still in it.
Yeah. I had somebody ask me when I was going to sell my 16-year-old daughter, and I was like, when someone wants to die. And they looked at me like, are you serious? That happened to both of us, remember? I was like, oh yeah.
They were asking for her back in the order. They wanted her.
Yeah, they're like, when are you going to sell her? I got $64,000 for my 14-year-old.
Oh my god.
And I was like, when someone wants to die, are you serious? And she's like, are you kidding me, Julli? That happened to the both of us.
Like, it's not that bad.
And I was like, okay.
That is ridiculous.
That did happen to me. Huh. Okay, well, I'm not doing that. That's why I'm not there. Duh.
Wow. I feel like there's so much more we can talk about, but that we'll just have to save it for the next time that we get together. But I'd love to end all of my interviews on this question. What would you say, because there's a lot of older people that watch my channel, what would you say to them, one thing that if they would actually listen to it and take it in, what would you tell the older people that are watching right now?
Watch your surrounding. Like, see what's going on, listen to yourself, let your emotions happen, and you'll see what's really out there.
I like that. Actually listen to yourself, because a lot of the order is, nope, follow the one above another. Nope, that's jealousy. Nope, these are all unnatural things. Let's mold you to be what you need to be. But in reality, if you do what you're saying, you'll be able to follow the path that's the best for you. Not the path for them, the path that's the best for you. Because only you're going to know what's best for you. I like that. I want to end on that. That's good. But this is Julli. I will leave the links to everything in the description box down below. Her daughter's YouTube channel as well. She has merch. And that's Julli. That's it. Okay, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you on the next episode of Culty Cup of Coffee. Bye.
I am Julli Robinson. I grew up here in the state of Utah in a very, very controlling cult. At the age of 16, I was sold and forced into a marriage that I never wanted. In our culture, we were taught to have a child every year, and birthing was very unsupported. I found a way out. I broke free. I was one of the first mothers to leave with all of her children, and on that pathway out, others found hope. 2014, my sister had hope, but her only options for her to get out was to leave this world. She committed suicide because when she reached out for help, our community had no clue how to deal with that. They did not understand the severity. And on September 27th, she took her own life. Because others saw that, they opened their doors. They gave more young women options, and so many were able to get out. And this is a process where we need to bring awareness, we need to bring funding, we need to bring laws, politicians, everyone around to understand that this is a problem. There needs to be support. There needs to not be another young lady, my hero, the strongest young lady I ever knew. That needs to not be the only option.